So we might actually start today and go for a little walk and a stand and do a bit of a standing scan. Just want to check that you can hear me okay at home. Thanks, Anne. Yeah, thumbs up, great. So as you come up into standing, just arrive. Maybe even give yourself, just be here and notice your feet. Notice the weight on your feet. If you're comfortable and not dizzy, you could close your eyes or just soften your eyes. And notice the weight on your feet. And where is your weight today? Is it in your heels? More than the balls? Is it really even? There's a gamut of possibilities here. So just notice what you notice. Is it on the big toe of one foot? Scan around those 4 tires of your feet and notice where is the weight. And then come to your knees and notice if your knees are soft or locked. And then bring your awareness to your pelvis. You can put your hands on your pelvis if you need to feel where is your pelvis in space. You might have a sense, is there a rotation of one side of the pelvis forward or back? Hard to know which one's forward and which one's back, so just observe that there might be a rotation there. And then also start to notice if your pelvis is tucked under or if your tail is sticking out behind you. And for a moment, play with that. Soften your knees and tuck your tail like you're rolling your back into a flattened position. And notice what happens to the weight on your feet. And then go the other way. So hello to neutral, and then go the other way. So now you're arching your back as you tip your pelvis forward. One of my clients calls it, you mean the duck posture, with your tail poking up like a duck. So if that helps you, yeah, duck posture. And notice what happens when you do that to your knees and where the weight goes in your feet. And then just come back to where it feels pretty normal for you. Notice where your ribs are. So we've spent the last couple of weeks really focusing on breathing and ribs. If you had a sphere, the pelvis was a sphere, the ribs were a sphere, and your head is a sphere, how are they all lining up today? And then take yourself for a little walk and notice how you're doing. You could put this on, might be better. Nicer for us without. And you're noticing, I want you to notice how you roll over your feet. So if your heel hits the ground and then you roll to the ball of your foot. And is it the same on both sides? And it might be really interesting this morning to listen to the sound of your feet hitting the ground. And remember, sometimes it helps to close your ears. So you can put your thumbs in your ears or just close off a little flap and just go for a walk and notice just one heel hits the ground harder than the other. And just collect whatever you collect. There's no right or wrong with any of this. We're literally just being curious about how are you feeling your assignment today? And then make your way back to your mat and lay down onto the floor. Hopefully you're nice and warm. Where you are? Is that okay in here?
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's warm. It's nice. Not sure what that is. And so as you settle down onto the floor, just take a moment as you lie onto your back. Notice how you feel. Notice your imprint. And start at your feet. And see if you can feel at your feet what you noticed in standing. So become aware of those 4 tires. Base of the big toe, base of the little toe, inner and outer aspect of the heel. And notice, is there a similar pattern in line? And then take your awareness to your pelvis. And if you had your hands on your pelvis in standing and you felt that possibly there was a rotation, and you really can't tell whether one side is rotated back or one is forward. It could be a bit of both. Yeah? But notice now on the floor, do you feel more weight on one side of the pelvis than the other? And again, notice what you notice. There's no right or wrong. It's purely improving or sharpening our ability to sense and feel from the inside out. Then notice the weight on your lower back. Maybe there's space between your lower back and the floor. Become aware of the base of the ribs. Feel the weight on the ribs themselves. Shoulder blades. Again, notice if there's a rotation through the rib cage and the shoulder girdles, so that one side might feel like it's sinking down more than the other. And then take your awareness from your shoulders all the way down to your hands. Noticing points of contact, witnessing space. And then where is your head in space? Are you slightly tilted back? So that if you were to gently blink your eyes open, you're looking over your head? Or are you looking directly up to the ceiling? Or are you looking slightly forward of the ceiling? Just notice, where is your head? And don't change. Resist that temptation to change, to correct, but think that one is right, one is wrong. Rather just notice, be curious. Notice if you've rotated from side to side, so that your head is slightly turned or tilted. And start to witness your body breathing. That gentle nostril breath, if you can, breathing in through the nostrils gently. See if you can sense the cool air entering the body. See if you can notice the natural pause at the top of the inhale. And gently follow the exhale into the pause at the end of the exhaling breath. And every time you follow the breath in, feel like you're taking your awareness deeper and deeper within. And as you follow the breath out, feel, sense, and allow yourself to settle into that space at the end of the exhale. Notice how you feel on all levels of your being this morning. Feel that personally for me during this time is of our new way of being, which really that's what we're getting used to, this new way of the world. There's a lot more ups and downs where you're not sure what's happening. Then you might resist what's going on, then you might flow. You might resist, then you might flow. So just notice for you, how are you feeling today within your soma, within the current normal, whatever that is. And again, be curious to witness what's there without judging it as good or bad. Rather, sense what you feel. And then from this place, let your intention for this practice arise. And maybe it's to be present with your breath. And if you wish to dedicate this practice, bring your hands to your heart space. You might set your intention, saying to yourself, through the power of this practice, may I. Atha, yoga, Nushasana. It is, with great respect and infinite love for ourselves and all beings, that we now come to this practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. And gently releasing your hands from your heart space. And if your legs are long, bend up your knees now and bring your knees into your chest. I want you to have a really good feel of your lower back. So you might rock a little side to side. You can rock side to side, or you might just take your knees back and forth. And just notice, play with, if you're going back and forth, how does it feel if you have your legs parallel? So your feet are not crossed. And you're just drawing your knees into your chest. And then what does it feel like if you cross your feet and widen your knees and bring your knees in towards your armpits? And you may even like, before we get started with our somatic flow, because we have a focus on releasing the lower back, you might even like to roll through your spine, if that's good for you. No, it's not for everybody, but if it's good for you, you might roll through your spine. And again, just notice, how does that feel this morning? Don't force it. Do need a bit more knees to chest, right? And then bring your knees back into your chest, uncross your feet, and just let your feet release to the floor. And that's a way of finding hip width apart when you put your feet down. And I keep watching everybody, and it seems to work really well. It was a yoga teacher who showed me that one. I went, that's a good idea. So once you find your hip width apart, now starts coming to your first arch this morning. So as you breathe in, really relax the front of the body, let your back arch. And pause at the very top of the arch. Feel your back muscles contracted more, and then keep your focus in your back and let your back melt like warm honey drizzling onto warm porridge. And then do that again. And if you notice on this next arch that you are rocking towards one side of your pelvis, then straight away, as soon as you notice that, you want to recalibrate it. So you will put your hand on that side of your pelvis and start to do it on the diagonal, opposite hand on the opposite ribs, diagonal ribs, and you press the opposite shoulder back, and then again, let your back melt like warm honey drizzling off a spoon. So lemon and ginger, no more you drink. One more time, take a breath in and arch on this diagonal, press the shoulder back. If you're not on the diagonal, you just keep going through the center. And let's take this one into a flatten. So just like before, think about pancake batter spreading into a hot pan. Go all the way to neutral and then sink past neutral, slump in the middle. You're drawing your shoulder across towards your pelvis, pelvis towards your shoulder. And now let your back stay relaxed and slow motion release the front of the body and switch off. One more arch and flatten on this diagonal. Take your time, enjoy the space in your breath. Pause at the top. And then super slow, back to neutral. Probably flatten and then swap sides. And so if you're, the first couple are only just to go arch into the second diagonal, pause at the top, really feel the back contract from the pelvis across to the opposite shoulder. Feel the ribs expanding under your hand. And now just release to neutral. Letting your back spread like pancake batter in a hot pan. And do that again on this second diagonal. And then you'll start to take it into arch and flatten. And notice on this second side, be really curious. Is it that it's harder to let go of something? Which is often the case. Remember, this practice is a practice of undoing, of releasing unconscious tension once you're aware of it. So if you find this side, you go, if you're curious about why is this side, my second side, why is this different? And it's about letting go. So let your back go. Let your back melt like butter in a hot pan. And then keep letting your back go as you sink in the center. Feel like you draw your pelvis towards your opposite shoulder, sinking through the ribs. And very slowly, see, can you release the front? It might be that the temptation is to pull with the back of the body on the side. So be very curious and switch off. One more on this side. Can you let your head just tassel along for the ride? Very slow on your release. Take as many breaths as you need. And switch off. And then take your hands off your body and notice your imprint on your feet. It amazes me how the imprint on your feet can change after that, because you've changed what's happening in the center, in your pelvis, your lower back, your ribs. And then take a breath in and let your back arch. And notice now, is the weight more even on both sides of your pelvis or heading towards more even? And then let your back melt. Go all the way into the flatten. And then gently come back to neutral and switch off. And do it one more time and be the witness and notice, is it easier for you this morning to arch or is it easier for you to flatten? And I'm curious, when you come back to your neutral, who found it easier to arch this morning? Okay, and who found it easier to flatten this morning? Not sure, not sure. Okay, all right, that's good, because what we wanted to do was release your lower back, which means it's easier to arch than it is to flatten. So the majority of you are finding it easier to arch, so we're going to go with that. So can you bring your knees into your chest and hold on behind your thighs? So just bring again knees to chest and rock side to side and back and forth, and notice how it feels. And then come to center and just notice, even look at your knees and notice there's one leg coming in closer to your chest. Or are they pretty even? So look at the position of your knees. Yeah? And why don't you, let's stay with the one that's easier, because that'll help to retrain your brain, doing the side that's more connected first. So keep the knee that's closer in and put the other foot down. And if you haven't really got a difference, just pick a side. So Brian, I'd pick your side that's not sore. Yeah, that's it. And then have your hands behind. So if you haven't got a difference, but you have one side of your back that gets sore, pick the opposite side for now. Have, you just need your, Sue, you need your other leg still bent and foot on the floor. So that foot's on the floor, but your leg's not straight. That's it. And you're holding behind your thighs now, and you've interlaced your hands. Look at your vision. So you know this movement where we arch and then you resist your leg, but we're just doing one leg at a time. So as you breathe in, go to arch your back and really press your leg firmly into your hands and resist quite firmly. And now let your back spread like butter melting in a hot pan and press less with your leg. And as you press less with your leg and your back lets go, you're letting go through the whole back of your body and your leg might come in. Then inhale and arch, press firmly with your hands, resist with your hands as your leg presses away, and then let your back melt like pancake batter. So keep your focus on your back. As you let your back melt, you let the back of the body go and your leg comes in. So you don't need to use your hip flexor on the front. See what you're doing this time, be curious. Inhale and arch, really feel like you're pressing your leg firmly away. And you could just bring that leg in by using the front of your pelvis, your hip flexors. But rather, could you focus on your back? Let your back melt, press less with your leg, and let your leg float in towards your chest. Now hold your leg where it is. We did this sequence when we did lunar and solar. Yeah. So keeping your thigh where it is, you start to move your knee towards straight and you don't let your thigh move away from your chest. And you're coming to a point where you feel a little bit of resistance in your hamstrings, but not at the back of your knee. So your knee could be still quite bent. And then repeat what we just did. Inhale, arch, press your thigh into your hands, resist quite firmly as your back goes to arch, and then let your back melt. And as your back melts, you let go through the back of your leg and your leg floats in. 2 more times. So Margot, you don't want to be in a traditional hamstring stretch. So have a look, can you see me? You need to bend your knee and bring your knee right into your chest so your belly and your thigh might be almost in contact. So bend your knee more, bend your knee more. And then you go from here, and as you inhale and arch, your leg doesn't move away very far at all because you're resisting quite firmly with your hands. And then you let your back go, and your leg might come a little further in. It's not a big movement. So let go of how you've traditionally done that. So even carry a little less movement as you arch. So let's do one more so we get this. It's such a powerful release if you can get it right. Inhale, go to arch your back. Press your thigh firmly into your hand. But you do want to have your foot pointing to the ceiling so you feel like you're working your hamstrings a little more. That's it. And then let your back go. Let your leg melt. So you press less with your leg and then draw it in towards your chest. And then place that foot back down. And woohoo. Notice your lower back. Notice your pelvis on the left and right side. And then let's come to the second side with that sequence. So we start with the leg bent and the foot just relaxed towards the buttocks. And you hold on, interlace behind your thighs. Inhale and arch. So in this one, you might get a little bit more movement in your lower back. You arch, you press your thigh away, you hold really firmly because you want to feel your glute and your hamstring engage. And then let your back go. Think of your favourite thing that melts in a pan. Ghee, whatever it is. And let your back melt as you draw your back, as your back lets go and the back of your leg lets go, your thigh can come closer to your chest. And again, inhale and arch. Really press your thigh firmly into your hands and then let your back melt. And it melts. Let your leg float in rather than pulling it in with the front of your hip. Inhaling and arching again when you're ready. Pause at the top. Feel the back of the body switched on and then let it go. One more. And now keep your thigh as close in as it is comfortably now. And then start to take the sole of the foot towards the ceiling, then straightening the knee. However, you watch what happens. If I straighten any more than this, my thigh will come away.
Yeah, and that's sort of traditionally how we do it, but really all that's doing is pulling on the tendons either end of your hamstrings. So by bending your knee, keeping your thigh quite close, you can then arch and press firmly into your hands and resist firmly with your hands. Now let your back melt, let your back melt, let your back melt, and let your leg come with it. Nice. So the whole time, if you can, you keep your hamstrings sort of engaged, so you do keep your foot up this time, but remember there's quite a bend in the knee. And then you arch, and the movement is not as big, so the arch when your legs like this won't be as larger movement. Resist quite firmly, and then let your back go, and release. 2 or 3 or even 4 more times on this side, because this is your second side. I want you to just play, be curious. Is it harder to push? What do you notice? Is it harder to engage? So do you need to even just sort of wake up those muscles on the back of your leg by giving them a tap as you arch your back? Can you let them go? Can you let the back of the body melt? And then let the whole back of your leg release. Twice more. Just bringing your leg in as far as your back can melt and let go. So it's not a big traditional, what we would call a stretch when you do this, but rather that coordinated release of your lower back and your hamstrings together. And because this is our second side, I'm curious, are you as focused? Can you stay as tuned in on this side? And if, like me, you can't, do one more with all your focus. That's often what I'll do. I'll notice, well, I've wandered off, or, you know, I'm thinking about, no, I'm not. Often not thinking, but just not as focused as the first side. So do the last one, really pressing quite firmly, and then let it melt, let your back go, let your back go, let your back go. And now face your foot back down. Say hello to your imprint. Notice your feet. Change completely. Yep. So it's really good to do that practice on either side, because you'll start to, you know, pick up the differences on your left and right side of your lower back and pelvis and hamstring. And then take an arch and see how that feels. Oh, hopefully it's as smooth as my little train wheels on a track. So feeling your pelvis rolling like train wheels on a track. And then release your back, go all the way to flatten. And just notice, is it a little easier to flatten now? And come back to center. And then draw your knees into your chest. And let's do a little bit of rocking, however you like, so you can have your knees together. So notice when your knees are together and your legs are parallel, that it often is mobilizing a little higher up your lower back, sort of more the junction of your lower back and mid-back. And then if you cross your feet and open your knees, can you feel how it gets in a little lower? Was it the 90s or the 80s we had that ad, really gets in? Remember the chalk?
Yeah.
I always think about that when I'm doing this. Like, where does it get in? And then if it's good for you to roll through your spine, roll through your spine. If it's not, roll over onto your side and you're going to come onto your belly. But if it's okay for you to roll through your spine, roll. And you might even like to notice how easy can you roll with your forearms. Because that really gets in more to your lower back. How does it feel? And then make your way to sitting. And then come all the way over onto your belly. So as you lay down onto your belly, just let yourself be. Turn your head to one side, just let everything go. Keep your arms wherever they're comfortable for you. Let your legs go. And notice where your legs do go. Notice, is it even on both sides? So for me, not even at all. Yeah, one side, the weight is totally different from the pelvis all the way to the feet compared to the other side.
So just notice that. Is there a difference? And then bring your feet, so the tops of your feet are on the floor and your heels pointing straight up. You come into back lift. So you're going to bring your arm out. Two options for your shoulder. First one would be to come in what we might call a Sphinx position from yoga, where your forearm stays on the ground, your thumb lines up with your eye maybe, or your wrist lines up with your eye. Or it might be better for your shoulder to have your arm out straight, so elbow straight. Now the other arm, this is the arm we're looking at. Apologies if I didn't say that. The arm you have turned and looked toward. The other arm goes down beside you with your palm up. Notice where your pelvis is. Have you rocked onto one side of the pelvis? So it might be good to rock your pelvis from side to side. Feel the weight shift, and then pause where you feel the weight is quite centered in the middle. And when you're ready, on your breath in, could you just breathe into your lower belly and expand your upper belly and your chest, and just lift your head the tiniest bit off the floor. Only as far as the breathing will allow. And then let go and come back down. This time, this time, before, when you breathe out, press all your points of contact into the floor. So your hand, your elbow, the tops of your feet, your other shoulder, even the side of your head. Press everything down. Feel how the front is tightened. And now let the front go. Breathe into your belly, then breathe into your chest even, and lift your head a little higher. Lift your chest a little higher. And then slow motion, let yourself melt back down to the floor. So we're going really slow with our back lift, building on its rate. And pause when you come to the floor and let everything switch off. And when you switch off, your legs might roll. So that's okay, let your legs roll. And then come back to the tops of your feet and the tops of the knees facing the floor. And now imagine a rope from the shoulder you're looking towards, all the way to your opposite pelvis and down that leg to your heel. As you breathe in, let go through the front. So breathe into the soft belly, lift your chest, start to glide your shoulder blade over your ribs and lift your opposite leg like there's a rope that's pulling to bring those two closer together. You can look to your thumb or look down to the floor. I think it's easier for your neck when your arm is out in the T, but you can definitely look to the floor a little more. And then, sorry, I should say easier on the neck. And then slowly release your back muscles like a rope that's lowering you down and completely switch off. I want you to do maybe another 3 more of these today. So this time, come up half as high and twice as slow. At the top, pause. Let go of what you don't need. Notice that the top of your foot is still facing the floor. I know you've got a cat as well, Karen, but just check that foot's still facing the floor. And then slow motion release, like a rope that's being lengthened. And then completely switch off. Kath, if you're having trouble with your internet, I don't know if your phone is any better, you might be on a hotspot. Fine. One more time. So as you breathe in, let the front of the body go. Start to rise up away from the floor. Doesn't need to be very high. Reach the opposite leg. Feel the connection between the shoulder girdle and the pelvis, and then slow motion release and switch off. And then roll yourself onto your back for a moment. That's quite nice. You won't need your glasses if you're taking them off. Just roll onto your back just for a moment. And bend your knees back up and notice how you feel after doing back lift on one side. And notice your feet. See if you can feel the difference on the diagonals now.
And if you're curious, you could roll through your spine again. You could just do your knees to your chest and see if you can feel a difference between the side you've released in the back lift and the side you haven't. Or start to roll through your spine. You might really feel the difference of the tension in the side you haven't released. And then you'll come over onto your belly again. Turning your head to the opposite side.
So if you find this is challenging for your neck, I'd encourage you to do the version where your arm is straight rather than your elbow bent. I find when you come up, you can look a little easier to the floor, which is less strain on the neck. So again, just let your legs flop to the side and notice and let everything relax. So choose a position for your arms that's comfortable. And that could even be your head in the middle and your hands under your head. And just let your legs flop to the side and notice if that's changed from when you did it the first time. Notice from your pelvis all the way down to your toes, what are your points of contact? And then come to the tops of your feet and the tops of your knees. So that's neutral rotation of your legs and pelvis. Then turn your head back to the second side. Arm either in Sphinx, so elbow bent, and remember the forearm will stay on the floor, or arm out into the T. Take a breath in, soft belly, and only lift up as high as your soft belly will allow. So it's like the breath inflates you and you lift up just a little. And then slowly release down. Do you know that you could do your whole back lift that high? Because we're contracting those muscles a little more than they already are. And because it's against gravity, you don't need to go high. Press down with all your points of contact, contracting the front of the body. Then let that go. Breathe into your soft belly. Come up a little. Feel your shoulder blade glide over your ribs. Remember, you can look to the floor if that's better for you. You reach both legs and you lift the opposite one with the hip, knee and toes facing the floor. Let go of what you don't need at the top and super slow. Release the back like a rope to lower your head, to lower your leg, to lower your arm and shoulder. If you found it helpful to press down first to release the front, do that every time. Press down and contract the front so your brain can feel the front switched on. Then let go of the front and slow motion come up. Let go of what you don't need at the very, very top. And then slowly release. Completely switching off, please wash your face. 3 more. They don't need to be high. Make sure your shoulders are comfortable. Everyone okay with their shoulders at home? Yeah. Have you frozen their calf or are you just watching? Okay. So you might have to play with the position of your arm to find a comfortable position for your arm. Could be even lower. Remember at the very top, let go of what you don't need. And then slowly release. Completely switch off. All right, and when you feel like that's even on both sides, or actually let's pause for a minute. Just like when we were doing the hamstrings on one side, on your second diagonal, did you switch off? Be curious, if it happens in one pose or one move in somatic, come back to that. And if you feel like you did switch off and lose your focus a bit for the last 1 or 2, maybe do one more. Doesn't need to be high.
It's not about the height. It's about your focus and feeling that connection. So take your time, nice. Stop at the top and let go of what you don't need, and then slowly release. And then completely switch off. Let's bring both hands underneath the forehead. And start to wake up your deep intrinsic muscles of your back, your multifidus, by gently rocking your pelvis from side to side. Small movement, fast oscillation. So I like my legs long. Some people prefer to do it with their knees bent. Notice the more so the long is much better. So if you need your knees bent, have your knees bent. And then come back to stillness and roll yourself over. And as you roll over, bring your knees into your chest straight away. Then just have a little feel. How does it feel? Rocking side to side. Bring your knees back and forth. So bring your knees into your chest and rock them side away. Then cross your feet. Open your knees wide and bring your knees more towards your armpits. And sometimes after a back lift, particularly if you're really strained to come up, you might actually feel like you need to release your lower back through this. And then, so what I would suggest if you get that, is next time don't come as high in your back lift. And then uncross your feet and just let your feet release to the floor. Hip width apart and parallel. And notice your imprint. Notice your feet. And then just before we come to the yoga block sequence, bring your hands onto your ribs and we'll make sure the front of the body is letting go. So take a breath in and gently arch your back. Let your pelvis roll towards your feet. Let your shoulders press back like two diagonal ropes crossing over your back. Shoulder blades drawing towards your pelvis. And then let your back go and sink in the center. And as you sink in your center, imagine the ropes in the front that crisscross to your opposite pelvis. Drawing your shoulders across, squeeze your knees in, flower with your hands on your ribs. And now super slow, like you're releasing those guy ropes on the front. Slowly let them out as your shoulders release towards the floor. Switch off about 3/4 of the way. Let your legs come back to neutral. And notice, do they come to neutral or do they hang with your knees slightly in and the weight of the blade of the feet? If they do, squeeze your knees in a little more and then bring them to neutral. Let's do the flower again, either with your hands on your ribs or you can have your arms out into a soft V. On your inhale, you arch and you let your arms and legs follow. So your legs go wide and your arms roll back. Chin will soften towards your chest because it's lifting up as you arch. And then as you breathe out, sink in the center, let your back go. So you flatten your back and you roll your arms in like rolling pins from your shoulder girdle. Let your knees squeeze in, let your head tip back. And now very slowly start to let go of the front. And let everything come back to neutral, including your knees and feet. Take another if you need. And then bring your feet up onto your couch or your chair. So if you're at home, you'll need to wiggle towards your couch. I'll have to get it for you. Yeah. So in the studio, I'm just putting the chairs in for them. So you need to have your buttocks as close to your chair or your couch as you can. And if you're using a chair, like me at home, make sure the chair is actually on your sticky mat. But if you can move yourself to your couch, go to your couch. And we're coming into segmental bridge. Now, sometimes when we do this, people find that they cramp in their hamstrings, which is an indication that you're overusing your hamstrings and not your glutes, by the way. But if that happens, you might need to put your block between your knees, so maybe have it close by. And come
lying down, and initially you can have a little chill out if you like, where your legs are actually resting on your chair. But then you slide your heels to the edge. And so I have the edge of the chair, or if I do this at home because on the couch, I just have the sole of the foot on the edge. And then you take a breath in and let your back arch a little. If you're in really close, it won't be a big arch. And then you release your back as you breathe out and tuck your tail. And now you start to press down through your feet. So as you go up, the soles of your feet press further down onto the top of the couch or the chair. And you roll up, make sure there's nothing under your head, of course. And you come up as high as is comfortable for you. And then you're going to slowly roll down one vertebrae at a time. If you feel like your hamstrings are going to cramp already, then I would take that block and put it between your legs. But before you come up, so do your little arch, then flatten, tuck your tail. Now, glad wrap your glutes, squeeze your glutes towards the midline. Glad wrap them to your tailbone and then come on up. At the top of the bridge, you only come up as high as is comfortable, so no pressure in your neck. Slowly roll down, and you choose where your arms are. You can have your arms holding a T or down beside you. Try and roll down one vertebrae at a time. There's an arch at the end of the sequence. Then you gently flatten your back and tuck your tail. Squeeze your glutes, so glad wrap them. Touch them, it's okay to actually touch your glutes because it does wake them up. Imagine they're glad wrapping towards your tailbone and come on up. And then super slow roll down, one vertebrae at a time. See if you can do maybe 3 or 4 more. And if you're curious as to why I've made you put your feet up on the couch, put your feet down on the floor, so wiggle yourself away. And notice when you bridge with your feet on the floor, how it's actually really easy to lift your lower back up flat. Yeah? And not actually get a segmental movement of each vertebrae, which is what we're trying to get. So that's why I make you put your feet up. Because in that way, when your feet are up, you can really flatten your back and you can start to peel your lowest number vertebrae. There's 5 vertebrae in the lower back. You can peel L5, then L4, then L3, then L2, then L1, and then you get to move through your mid-back, which is really delicious. Often stiff, but delicious if you can release it. And then slowly come down. You want your spine to work like a bike chain, where every cog is moving freely and easily. And when it's enough for you, so if this is something new for you, you might go, that's enough, I can't do anymore, or I've had enough. Then bring your knees into your chest and go to knees wide and feet crossed. So your knees are wide, your feet are crossed. And notice how it gets in now. This sequence is my go-to if I ever feel any stiffness in my lower back. This is how this whole today's practice has evolved, I guess, from playing with how to release the lowest part of our spine. And then we need to move away from the couch or move the chair away if you've got a chair and have your yoga block by spine. With your feet on the ground, hip width apart and parallel, you take your breath in and let your back arch. And then let your breath flow as you flatten. Tuck your tail. Lift up your pelvis and take your block and slide it underneath you. So in this block sequence, you want the top of the block, if it's flat. If you're on the middle edge, I'm presuming you guys know what you're doing. Yes, so you go for it. But if this is new or you're not sure, you have the top of the block at the top of your pelvis. So place it underneath and then bring your hands on your hips like you're cranky with someone. Slide your thumbs from there around the back. That's the top of your pelvis. And make sure the block is below that in relation to your feet, so closer down towards your feet. When you put your pelvis on, it should feel sometimes strange and comfortable. And then take your legs to straight and let your legs relax.
So if you don't have a yoga block, remember you can use a big fat block underneath your pelvis. Now come back to the natural pause in your breath. Feel free to keep your hands let out or take them over your head. If you're not comfortable on the block, then the trick is to move it closer towards your pelvis. So you need to move that pillow closer to onto your pelvis, not your lower back. Now take it towards your feet. Yep, even more. And then you'll bend up on the other time. Place your feet on the floor. If they're coming on and off the block, it has been shown to change the pressure in your discs. So you tuck your tail now, lift your pelvis off, take the block out, and slowly roll down. And feel free if you wish to take your arms above your head and roll down, which will deepen the opening in your back, and you might need to do a snow angel as you do that. Once your pelvis touches down, bring your knees into your chest, feet crossed, knees wide, and keep rocking those knees in towards your armpits until it feels really good. So it could be longer. So sorry, I did send an email, but you might have seen it, that to have a big fat book if you haven't got a block. And then we'll repeat it. So bring your feet back to the floor. Let your back arch. Then go into your flatten, tucking your tail, peel your pelvis up, slide the block underneath. Maybe, excuse me, if you're not sure, hands on your pelvis like you're cranky with someone or making a point, slide your thumbs around. That's the top of your pelvis, and you need the block below that. And then you'll straighten one leg at a time. And slide your legs straight. They're both straight now, and you let them relax and take your arms over your head. About 6 to 8 breaths. If at any time it's not comfortable, just adjust the block or come off earlier. Remember, if you're on the higher edge, it's in the middle of the pelvis. And then you'll slide one leg at a time to knees bent. Tuck your tail as you lift up. Take the block out. Roll down, either with your arms down beside you, snow angeling, or keeping your arms above your head. When your pelvis touches down, this time let's do an arch and curl. So take your hands behind your head, interlace, thumbs at the base of your skull. As you breathe in, gently arch your back. As you breathe out, tuck your tail, let your elbows come towards the midline, and then sink in the center and sit up. And now take your time, slowly releasing, like you're lifting your head off your shoulder. Now once your head touches down, release your arms and bring your legs in one at a time. Cross your feet, open your knees. And rock those knees in towards your armpits. So feel free, excuse me, to keep going with this, or bring your knees together and use your lower abdominal. So your feet are still crossed, and you're using your lower abdominal muscles to bring your knees towards each other. Neck and shoulders really relax. And then come back to rocking. And again, stay here, or the deeper sequence, or another sequence I should say, another sequence you can do to help change the pressure in the discs and rehydrate the discs of your lumbar spine is to then roll through your spine with your feet crossed
come to sitting and slide your hands forward towards the cobra. That's not necessarily for everyone. You need to be comfortable rolling through your spine. And then you come back up out of cobra, you roll through your spine again, cross your feet the other way, come back to sitting and slide forward. So you do that twice more if that's comfortable. If it's not and you're still on the floor, come with me and we'll do another lower abdominal practice. And it's quite helpful to have your block just under your feet to begin with. And I've got it on the high edge, so or the middle edge. Yeah, so I've just rested my feet on the block. And then bring your feet off the block so that your knees point directly above your pelvis. Those who've been rolling through your spine, when you finish that, you can join us with this as well. And so this is called legs passing, using your lower abdominal. So you're just holding your lower back still. So you don't have to engage anything in particular. Just allow your lower back to be where it is. And touch one toe towards the block as you bring the opposite knee towards your chest. And then swap. And if the block is too far away, don't go that far. So it's not a big movement. The whole time I'm aware there is tone in my lower belly to keep my lower back from moving. Yeah? Just that you're keeping your lower back still and you're touching one toe as you pass the other knee. It's a really good sequence because this is what has to happen when we walk. You need to be able to stabilize through the pelvis and lower belly while one leg goes forward and the other comes back. You feeling it?
Oh, yeah.
Good one to add into your home routine. And then bring your knees back into your chest. Gently move your block out of the way and let your feet just come back to the floor and notice your imprint. How now? How does it feel now? And then move yourself so that you can slide your legs. Let's counterpose all that back bend of the yoga block with arch and curl and a leg slide. So take your hands behind your head, interlace them. Take a breath in and gently let your back arch. So your feet are on the floor. And I just want you to notice as you arch, do you feel tension in the front of your hips? Or is it soft in the front of your hips? And as you breathe out, let your back go, tuck your elbows in. You're going to sit on up, like you did before, and then bring one knee in towards your chest. Hold your leg where it is and slow motion release your upper body. Once your head touches down, you gently let your elbows come to the side, release your arms, touch your foot, and slide. Completely switch off. And frog leg that leg back up. And this time lift the foot off the floor. So you have your knee above your pelvis and your foot off the floor. Hands behind the head, interlacing. Inhale, arch. Exhale, let your back go. Sit on up and bring your knee even closer if that's comfortable for you. Would you this time keep your head where it is and touch your heel to the floor. Just put your foot flat. Now release your upper body. Let your elbows release to the side and their arms all the way out. And then slide your leg towards straight. Bring your second leg down. You can do the two. And notice how it feels on the right, the first side, compared to the second side. And then fold leg your legs up. Let's start again. So you're noticing I'm trying to mix this up a little bit for you because particularly this sequence, we can become so automatic and habituated where we're not actually sensing the feeling. So it's quite good to mix up how you do things at home. So take a breath in and gently arch, keeping your feet on the floor. Breathe out, release your back. Squeeze the elbows in, sit on up, and then bring your second knee in. Hold your leg there.
Slowly releasing your upper body. As your head touches down, release your arms. Bring them all the way down. Touch your foot and slide. Keeping your back really long and soft. And frog leg that leg up. This time start with it in the air. Hands interlace. Inhale, arch. Exhale, let your back go. Sit on up, bring you closer if needed. And this time keep your head and upper body where it is and touch your foot down to the floor. Now lengthen. Slowly releasing your head. Arms come out, then slide your legs along. Have a moment of melt. And then frog leg your leg back up, feet on the floor, and take your hands to your pelvis like you are cranky with someone. Or you make it point, I should say. You're making it point. And just notice today, is your pelvis level or are you hitched up on one side? And let's play with that. Hitch up even more on the side that is higher. Notice how the one side's lengthening, one side's shortening. And then slowly come back to level. And then do that again and go towards this side. And then take the same hand. So if you've hitched up the right side or you've turned your steering wheel clockwise, take your right hand, gone the other way to your left hand. And reach your left hand down towards your foot and let the other shoulder come up. This is called zigzag shoulders. So as you reach down to your foot, the other shoulder goes up to your ear. And your head might move. And then hopefully it does. And then slowly let go and ease off through that side and come back to the middle. And then you'll turn your pelvis to the other side. So if you're going to the left, that's counterclockwise. Hitching up the left side. Remember you want your back really relaxed. And then hold there and reach your hand down towards your foot. Notice that the other shoulder can come up as the first side lengthens like a rope that's letting go. And then slow motion. Release this second side, pelvis to level, ribs to level, head to center. With your eyes open, notice if you're looking back, looking up, or looking forward. And how does that compare to when you started? Nice. And then let's take all of this into a wash rag today. So remember in your wash rag that it's like flower arms. So in a yoga twist, we just move from the forearms. But here in this somatic twist, you're actually rolling your whole shoulder girdle like a rolling pin. So you tip your pelvis towards one side. It doesn't need to go too far. And if you've gone to the left, for example, the left shoulder rolls down, and you turn away and look towards the right arm that rolls up. Then let your pelvis come back to center and roll your pelvis the other way. Rolling your arm down. Come back to center. And then flow from side to side. Enjoy your wash rag. See if you can really get that sense of rolling from your shoulder girdle. And then you'll gently come back to the center from the second side. And notice how you feel. Whether you feel like, that's all I need. And if that's all you need, make your way to standing, or you might like a propeller. So I'm feeling like a propeller might be quite nice for some of you. So if you'd like a propeller, you'll roll over to one side. You bend up the bottom knee. Bend up that bottom knee and then turn your chest towards the floor as you reach your top leg back. So you'll notice that there's no back arch, the back is not arching, rather it's an opening through the side of your body, and then you roll your ribs open and you draw your leg forward, and feel free to have your knees together, you don't have to have the legs straight. You roll your rib cage open, and if your shoulder is okay, your arm goes across your head. You turn your chest towards the floor. If you need to be gentle with your shoulder, remember you could roll your arm across your body like an arm slide. Roll your ribs. The motor is in the center of the body. And then the next time you turn towards the floor, pause there. Roll all the way onto your belly and even come up into a little sphinx. And just notice how your back feels. And then release yourself to the floor and roll to your other side. I'll flip it around. And as you come to your other side, I want you to bend up your bottom knee. You turn your chest towards the floor. The more you turn your chest towards the floor, you can reach your arm. And then slowly roll the ribs open. The motor is in the center. So ribs roll open, the leg comes forward. Gently in the lower back, tuck the knee bent, or maybe the leg straight. See if you can move from the center to your hand and foot. So if you're moving your hand first, which you can see if you people doing, just tuck your hands in and put your hand on your chest and roll your ribs and let your leg and shoulder follow. And roll your ribs. That's better. Really tempting to move from your hand rather than when that feels balanced for you, come to your side and press down through your hands and come all the way up into standing. And as you come up to stand, arrive. Don't think about it, just stand. And if your eyes are soft, let them be, or you might even want to close your eyes if you're not too good. And notice your feet. Hopefully it feels different, yeah? Notice your knees, notice the sphere of your pelvis, the sphere of your ribs, and the sphere of your head. And then put your fingers in your ears and go for a little walk. And notice, has that changed? Not that you can hear me. And then come back to your mat. So maybe it was more even, the sound of your feet is what you're looking for, maybe not. Just notice what you notice. And then when you come back, for Shavasana today, I'm going to do a short yoga nidra. It might be nice, so if you like using the chair, to put your legs up on the chair. So, and at home, of course, that's your couch or your bed. So you can put something to make your chair warm. And then you'll come and you'll lie down so that your knees are quite close to the couch or the chair. And then once you're there, let your legs go wide and your feet might come towards one another just to relax the front of your pelvis even more. I'm going to have a crack today. It's not being confused for the sound. So I'm going to have a crack today at changing computers. You probably maybe say that. To see if the sound is a little better. So take your time to make sure you're really comfortable. Oh, sorry. I did that before.
Make sure you're really comfortable and you're really warm. Can you hear me okay? So making sure you're really comfortable lying on the floor. And if you've taken your legs up and you're not comfortable, feel free to come into more of a traditional Shavasana. Take your time to make sure you're as comfortable as you possibly can be. Make sure you are warm. And start to notice your imprint from your head. Notice the position of your head. Notice the weight on the back of the shoulders. And all the way down your arms to your hands. Taking your awareness down through your ribs. Your shoulder blades. The whole of your mid-back. Softening the whole of your chest, collarbones, ribs, breastbone, and all of your organs. Soften the diaphragm. All of your internal organs of your abdomen and pelvis. The whole of your lower back. right side of the pelvis, the left side of the pelvis. Soften your thighs, your hips, your knees and your kneecaps. Your calves, shins, ankles and heels. The tops of your feet and the soles of your feet. Your big toes. Second, third, fourth, fifth, allow the whole of your body to soften into the floor and your supports. And notice the natural flow of the breath. Resist the temptation to change your breath. Rather, witness the breath. The cool morning air entering the nostrils. Follow the breath to the space at the top of the inhale. And then follow the breath to the well of spaciousness at the end of your exhale. Follow each exhale and allow it to lure you deeper and deeper into that space, that well. And allow yourself to rest and to rejuvenate here. And then very gently start to bring your awareness back to your body lying on the floor in this room. Notice the breath. And imagine that you're drawing that breath from the core of the earth. Bring the in-breath to your navel and let it spread into every single cell in your body. Keep breathing in this manner, drawing your breath from the earth, bring it to your navel, let it spread into every single cell, and then collect your breath back from every cell, bring it to your navel, and send it into the earth like an anchor or a root. Begin to move your body now. Maybe moving your fingers and your toes. Maybe bringing your knees into your chest, or taking your arms above your head and stretching long. And then gently roll over onto your side and pause there. Gently making your way into a seated pose. And if you're comfortable in Vajrasana, sit in Vajrasana, or even sit up on your couch, on your chair, or come and sit cross-legged. And let's bring the hands into prayer pose at the heart space when you arrive. And just notice how you evenly and equally press your left and right palm into one another as you yield the hands into one another. And allow your thumbs to touch your lifted breastbone. Follow your breath once again, breathing in, noticing the cool morning air. Settle into the space at the top of the inhale. Wait until your body needs to breathe out, and when it does, you follow the exhale. And let it lure you into that space at the end of every exhale. Rest here and wait for the body to need to breathe in. And when it does, see if you can breathe through your nostrils gently. Pausing at the top. And then follow the exhale like a slide. And let it lure you into that space. You might stay in this space or follow your breath one more time. And then let go of all breath control. And let's finish this practice with 3 Oms. Take a moment if you wish to dedicate this love. And we'll rub the palms together. Taking a breath in as you open your hands wide. Om. It is with great respect and infinite love that we now conclude this practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I honor that space in you where light, love, and truth dwell. For when you rest in that space in you, and I dwell in that space in me, we are one. Namaste. And peace, amen.